The ACLU, of Montana, similar to many other ACLUs, received intake complaints. So people, whether they were incarcerated or just out and about, had thought that their rights were violated, they could write into the ACLU and express that. And so the ACLU would take those complaints and analyze them. They might research them, they might refer them to other individuals, but that's where I saw a lot of Indigenous people who were incarcerated writing complaints about either not having access to sweats or not having access to the ability to smudge or hold a pipe or access eagle feathers or an eagle whistle or different cultural items and practices. So I researched a lot of them. We tried to refer a lot of them to different entities who worked on religious freedom because we were such a small operation. We were trying really hard to be able to provide these individuals with access and some sort of relief, but we didn't bring a lawsuit. It was mostly just advocacy on their behalf within the jail and prison system. So we learned about the individuals being prohibited from accessing sweat lodges through our intake system. We had a slow trickle of similar complaints from different individuals about not being able to access sweats when they should have been able to. And that's how we learned about them not being able to access the sweats. So what we did was I researched and made sure that I knew the law around, or I knew the scenario and the support and authority for how people who are incarcerated could access sweats and those ceremonies. So I looked at the policies, the Montana Department of Corrections policies, and a few cases to make sure I understood the supporting case law. And we just made sure that the people who wrote to us were empowered to push back and make sure that they had their authority and their dates that they filed grievances or reached out documented. And we had different approaches where the people in our advocacy and policy department would approach from the top, right, whoever their contacts were, they would try to advocate that way, and then we would advocate in a different way. And we also worked a lot with the National Racial Justice Project at the ACLU to support our potential claims and research, and made sure that we had all of our ducks in a row in case litigation was a possibility. The prison did end up lifting their prohibition on sweats, but at the same time there was also one scenario where it got resolved because of like fire restrictions or something. So it was a win and a loss for those individuals. I do, and I do think that a lot of reasons why people are incarcerated, aside from the systemic issues of over incarceration of Indigenous people, but aside from that, it's because what I've seen sometimes is because you're not grounded in your identity, and that's a lot of the reason why you see domestic violence and sexual assault, because when the Europeans came, our roles were reversed, and so we weren't practicing the ways that we had for hundreds and thousands of years after contact, and we became lost and confused. And what were our hunters supposed to do when we got on commodities and received rations from the government? It was a confusing time that we're still healing from, and I think a lot of why people are currently incarcerated, you can point back to that historical trauma that people are carrying within their DNA. People who are incarcerated get the bare minimum. They certainly don't get enough access, and someday it would be neat to be able to really fully provide those individuals the access that they really need. Um, and, we're not going to heal until we're able to do that.